Welcome to the Social Selling Podcast by linkingintosales.com. Martin Brossman, Greg Hyer, and Elyse Archer bring you insights from B2B business leaders and practitioners of social selling to help you build strategic relationships that lead to revenue. Let's start linking into sales.
Hello and welcome to Linking into Sales. This is Martin Brossman.
It's Greg Hyer.
And Elyse Archer.
Hey. Well, we've made it. We've made it to episode 100.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at episode 100. This is a big deal for us, and we've got a special show today.
That's right. So we're going to go a little nostalgic. All three of us have we've been quizzing each other, like, what was your episode that you think was most impactful? And then there was like 2, and then there was like 3, and then there was like 4, and then we said, all right, stop. Let's just stick at 2, and we'll go from there. And so we've all of us have kind of picked 2 of our favorite episodes from the previous 99, and we want to share parts of those with you as well, so that way you can definitely check those out and dive a little bit more into those.
It was so arduous for me because there's so many great shows we have, and having to just pick 2. Greg picked the criteria. It's good. But I just want to say I apologize for all those other great shows I couldn't pick. That's what I want to start with.
Yeah,
there's so many good ones. So check them all out. But we had to make a decision.
Definitely. And I know Elyse would have picked any of the ones that happened before she was on the show. But
well, I'm just sitting here thinking, I didn't realize that you picked the criteria, and I'm really hoping the ones I picked met the criteria. I just really liked them.
Yeah, no, they did.
You did.
We would have gotten back to you.
That's exactly right. I would have thrown that right back at you. Said that's not good enough, Elyse. No, we can't. But I know the reason why you picked the ones that you picked, so it's all good.
Well, first of all, let's mention our sponsor still.
Yeah.
So one of our sponsors is NC State Technology Training Solutions. And Greg, tell them about what those great resources they have there.
So if you're not familiar with NC State Technology Training Solutions, they are a continuing education division over at the McKimmon Center at NC State, over on the corner of Western Boulevard and Gorman Street. They offer a ton of great professional education classes, including learning Microsoft Excel, learning Adobe Premiere, learning Adobe Photoshop, getting your A+ certification, getting your social media management certificate. Or you can even come in and take a class in Google Analytics with yours truly.
Yep. Podcasting.
You want to learn about podcasting? We know a little bit about that.
Social selling.
And social selling on LinkedIn. Absolutely. We've got a ton of great classes, perfect catalog taught by industry professionals who have been in the business for quite a while. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, please do. And we know a bunch of you have actually gone out and checked it out. We thank you for checking them out and taking classes with them. But go out to linkingintosales.com/NCSUTTS. That's linkingintosales.com/NCSUTTS to learn a lot more about what they have in store for us.
And we took a little bit more of a break, so you probably haven't heard of us as frequent, but we have an exciting launch of one of our courses now.
We have a brand new course up on socialselling.training. Thank you for everybody who has been going out there and participating and learning how to create a customer-facing LinkedIn profile or a customer-facing profile. Customer-facing Twitter profile. Let me get my words backwards there. We still have a little bit more time before we decide to shut the gates on getting those 2 courses for free. So if you're listening right now, we're towards the end of September of 2016. So by the end of 2016, those courses are no longer going to be free. Now, not to say they're going to be super expensive, but they're going to be great. We're going to continue to update the courses as new things develop, especially since Microsoft has acquired or will be shortly going to closing with LinkedIn. So we don't know what sort of changes are going to be happening there. But our first course, which is something that people have asked us about every single time, it's how to integrate social selling into your current routine.
Yep.
So we made a course. It's called The Fundamentals of Creating a Social Selling Routine.
Oh, wow. That's
could
good title.
Get more simple than that? I hear silence.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. So anyway, so we have this fantastic course. It's about a 3-hour long course.
Yeah.
We go through it. We have some downloadable guides that are available. as you're taking the course, but we talk about the importance of routine, how routine is part of the sales process, how management should work with routine, how routine contributes to the overall strategy. And then we get into some of the very cool things about the tactics that you can use and integrate into your routine, when you could do that, how often you should do it. It's a ton of resources, right?
Yep.
It took us a while to put together the course, but it's out there. So go ahead and check it out. And if you email any of us, because some of us, you like one better. No, you like all of us the same. So just email any of us and we'll send you a promo code. How's that?
Oh, wow.
Just email us.
Okay.
And if you don't know our email addresses, we'll have a course for you to figure out how to do that.
Well, info.
But go to info@linkingintosales.com.
And that has a limited time period. So move on.
Yep.
Excellent. Now, I need to say one more thing. Elyse got an award recently, Elyse. I saw some rumors on there. I know you were giving out our social selling business cards, so I might have to get you more. Just announce your recognition you got.
Oh, thank you. Is that the top rookie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. That's
Top
actually
rookie of, yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So that one is actually a little bit old. I won that back in February, but we know how social media is. And sometimes it's like, it's unreliable, right? Which is why we have this show. So anyway, it was just through Southwestern Consulting, the company I'm partnered with. It was still within my first year when I won it. And it was just for the most sales coaching clients sold, which is kind of a meta type of concept. But yeah, so I was excited for it. Lots of lives to change.
Excellent.
Very good. Congratulations on that. I did not know. And it's been long enough. And why am I finding this out 7 months later? At least you and I, we have to talk a little bit more.
Yeah,
often.
that's right.
But that's awesome.
Come on. You need to spend more time on social media.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. You stop having your VA do it for you.
That's right. That's right. We got it.
Yeah. I'm out.
Hey, we might have a fight. Come on back, Elyse. I've already stumped on his toe here in the studio. Excellent. Well, now this is again this show. I'm really eager for us to dig into a drum roll, please, on what our top choices are. But do you want to hit a few LinkedIn tips?
Yeah. Well, actually, there's been some great news that has actually kind of come out of some of the developments that LinkedIn has been working on. There's this new. So LinkedIn bought Lynda a little while ago, spent $1.5 billion on them. And now they're converting lynda.com, the online learning community, into LinkedIn Learning. So this is where LinkedIn starts to take and make lynda.com an integrated part of the business, kind of like how they had done with SlideShare when they acquired them and a couple of the other major platforms out there. But LinkedIn Learning is if you're a premium LinkedIn member. So I think if you pay like that $80 a month for the sales account that you have with them, you actually get access to the library for free, or it's included with your subscription. It's not for free. It's included with your subscription. So make sure you check out those courses that are available out there because you're paying for them. But if not, I think that it's still going to remain still around that $25 or $30 a month for those courses. But this is, again, how LinkedIn is continuing to take the things that they purchase and integrate it into their system, so that way they can help working professionals actually learn more and sharpen their skills on the job and continue their education, which is why we teach over at NC State, for example, and which is why we do this particular podcast, because we want you to keep on learning. So we must be in sync here somewhere, right?
Well, they're also clearly merging the publishing and the lifelong learning together. So this is another reason to keep working on long posts that are really high quality and use it as sales collateral personally in your work.
Another point too, going about publishing, is that LinkedIn has actually kind of revamped the long form post publishing option. So when you go to publish an article, the format has changed. So just to kind of be aware of that. I think they've made it so that way when you're reading an article, you can't see exactly how many people have read the article, how many views the article has received. Only the author can actually receive that information. So the only thing that you're going to be able to see is how many people liked it and how many people left comments on it. So if you're reading an article and you see it's only got a few and you like the article, make sure you hit the like button or leave a comment on there. those are ways for you to take and actually increase your LinkedIn social selling index score, which we hold not dearly here, but it's one way to kind of find out how you're behaving, or is your behavior actually somewhat influential or impactful on LinkedIn. So take a look at that. The other thing too is that Inc.com, and I'll put a link to this in the show notes, published an article about how LinkedIn needs to, you need to stop looking at LinkedIn like a job board, because it's not. And actually about 9 times more of the content that is shared on LinkedIn or written on LinkedIn is more likely to be more like self-help content, such as like, how do I accomplish this? How do I accomplish this problem, or hit this goal, or look for a solution for something, or where can I get coaching from? And just experiences. People are sharing more and more experiences on LinkedIn as opposed to sharing job opportunities. So just kind of think about LinkedIn in that particular way, and in a way that it can actually support your career. Also, I believe that you should look at Twitter in the same way, especially if you build the people you follow. That stream is going to be based on the people that you're following. So make sure you're following me, you're following
me,
and Martin and Elyse, and also
and
linking into sales. That's right. So, and then, oh my gosh, there's been like so much happening. LinkedIn's going to, or not LinkedIn, Twitter is going to get bought. They put themselves up for sale. They have been. So if you're currently an investor in Twitter, pay attention to the news because I've been hearing, Microsoft is interested. Disney actually came out today. CNBC said that Disney was possibly interested in acquiring Twitter, which would be so weird. Because you imagine Mickey Mouse all of a sudden popping up while you're tweeting.
I don't want to do that. Erase. Go ahead.
Anyways, so let's. That was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah. Please continue.
I won't do that again.
The
Salesforce is considering buying. There's also Microsoft, believe it or not, is considering buying Twitter.
Yep.
Could you imagine?
That's amazing. And Google. I'm cheering Google on.
Yeah, me too.
Elyse, who are you cheering on to buy it? Any preferences?
I've got to cheer Mickey Mouse.
Okay. All right. We got Mickey Mouse. We got that. Yeah. And for you?
I'm going for Google. I want Google on this.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. All right.
Wow.
Let's get to our topics.
So let's not do this in any particular order. So
okay.
I think that what we're going to end up doing is give you the episode number and the reason why we liked it. What we'll do is we're going to take a quick pause, and then we're going to flip over to the episode to that part of the episode that we liked, and then we'll come back and go on to the next one. So ready to have a little bit of fun?
I am ready. In fact, speaking of fun, could I do mine first on Raj?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about some comedy.
I want to talk about comedy. This is a big one. The Raj Bates episode that we talked about, that was my pick. Mine was I really wanted how to be funnier in sales. I think sense of humor, it was episode 66 with Raj Bates. And we got the one excerpt about the importance of getting outside your comfort zone. And there's a great quote. If anyone says to me, that's outside my comfort zone, I'm saying that's where you should be starting in your life. If your life feels boring, it's because maybe it is what it says. And really, and we talked about, in the whole episode, we went into how I was booed off stage the first time I did stand-up comedy. And Raj is an expert in teaching people how to be funnier, and he works at the corporate level. So I picked this one because I think there are some real gold mines of how people who don't view themselves funny because they can't tell a joke doesn't mean they're not funny. They just haven't developed their humor muscle enough. And part of your humor muscle is just learning to laugh and find a way to let in humor. And it's such an incredible valve for people who get over-attached to significance and also overly stressed. So that's kind of my piece. So I'd like you to listen to it. We welcome your comments on it, but that's my tip on this excerpt.
Awesome. Well, let's take a listen.
Yeah. We got to know each other through the work of Carolina Health and Humor, which you've taken over. And,
yes.
I was, for people who don't know it, I had the honor of taking a humor cart to cancer patients for several years, and was named Volunteer of the Year by Governor Hunt, thanks to Ruth, that started all this. And then you've taken you've taken the torch and moved it forward, which I'm very proud of. It's in good hands. But the thing I want to talk about is me going to your comedy class and to find out we both still share telling the story of how in Charlie Goodnight's comedy Amateur Night I was booed off stage. And that's where I think we should start, because everyone gets a chuckle when I say it, you know?
You took that class with more perseverance than anyone I've ever seen, and so much credit goes to you because you mastered it to a degree. You went back up, you got the laughs, you didn't get booed off. I think you took the class, I don't know, 4 times or whatever, but man, you know, you showed what perseverance does. And being stand-up comic, being stand-up comedy funny, which is a term that you coined, is different than using humor at work or humor anywhere else, really. So it's a difficult thing. It's much easier once you know the basics to use humor at work very effectively. It's not like trying to be a stand-up comic.
Well, here's the piece that was so valuable, and really, I want to tell the lesson I learned out of the class is people always laughed when I was teaching classes. So I thought, you know, Raj has instruction here, but I know how to do this. And then I got on that stage with blinding lights, unable to see a room full of drunk people. And I, you know, it was dead air. I mean, the only thing I heard was the boos, which indicated it was time to leave the stage. And I want to tell you, it was such a great experience, because I remember driving home and I go, I don't ever remember feeling this level of humiliation, except maybe rejected by girls in the past, but that's about the only level.
At least they laughed at you, though,
at
right?
least they laughed, and you know, and just, you know, at least I got to be close to them before they rejected me. Yeah. And so it was, and I remember in the car, I don't know, I shared it with you, but I said to myself, you know, this is going to be great material. I need to embrace this time. And that's one of the things I talk about is if you're living out of your commitment or your feelings, you know, or you're trying to save face or be your commitment. And I've used it, and then to find out over the years, we both used the story in teaching, you know?
Right, yeah.
But it is one of the cornerstones. You know, you have to break some eggs to make an omelet, and you have to be willing to face some of the humiliation to develop your humor. And to me, this is a very important piece that I think we often aren't teaching enough of, the ability of facing humiliation, embarrassment. I heard someone one time say, well, I can't show my face there anymore. And my view is, if I can't show my face somewhere, then I need to personally clean it up so I can again.
Well, that's one of the benefits of humor. It's therapeutic. And by laughing at ourselves, especially, or our follies, or whatever's going on in life, you know, it empowers us. It enables us to put that problem in perspective and work through it and tackle it. I had a woman in one comedy class, I don't know if you remember, she said, I've always wanted to try stand-up comedy, but I'm afraid people might laugh at me. And we laughed at her. You know, we said, you're off to a good start. So humility is a huge part of it. You know, you gotta take a chance. And people always say, well, I don't have a sense of humor. You know, I'm just not funny. And everybody, we were all born with a sense of humor. Yep. So my book is called How to Be Funnier, you know, not how to be funny, because we're already funny. It's just like anything, once you learn some of the basics, you can do it a lot better. And like learning a sport or music, you just learn the basics.
What do you say are some of the basics? Because I agree, it's a muscle that can be developed. I mean, I really proved with that boot off stage that I had one muscle developed, which was humor in a presentation where it was very contextualized, but I hadn't developed the next level. And I need to tell you, Raj, I am much funnier now as a presenter from your training than I was before.
Good. That's great to hear. Because you were funny before. And, you know, part of having a good sense of humor is laughing and catching other people's humor, which you are great at. I mean, you're good on stage and you're good in the audience. So, but you know, you've probably heard children laugh an average of 300 times a day. Adults laugh an average of 15 times a day. And I think that's just if they go to happy hour. But we start out using humor. And then as we get older, you know, we're taught, oh, you got to be serious. You got to quit being funny. And so a lot of people lose that ability. And it's a muscle. So the more we use it, the stronger that gets. And that's part of it, is just making it a priority and using that muscle with a little know-how.
Well, one of the things that are concerns is, of course, political sensitivity, not being, as a kid, we might have laughed at jokes which would be very inappropriate to publicly mention now. Yeah. So there does need to be some sensitivity as a professional. And one of your ideas that you that I heard and was echoed actually by a student in one of my classes is knowing the difference between laughing with and laughing at. And I'd love for you to just talk a minute about that, because, you know, I as somebody, for example, I as someone who was diagnosed with ADD and dyslexic, I have a license to joke about that topic different than I might if I was did not have it. So would you distinguish that? Because that's, to me, a very good starting place for sales professionals to work on.
It is. And using humor at work has to be used smartly, has to be used effectively, not defectively. So we don't want to be putting down our clients or customers. And you're right, you know, we want everybody laughing, so we don't want to be laughing at them. So where I start, whether I'm talking to a comedy class or a group of sales professionals, I start with self-deprecating humor. And that's where we target ourselves. Become an expert at self-deprecation, you will be a very funny person. And more importantly than that, in the business world, you will be likable. Self-deprecation gives us likability. And I don't think, there's a guy, I think it was Tim Sanders, who wrote a book, The Likability Factor, and he talked about how important likability is. When you think about it in life, especially in sales, being likable is of the utmost importance. So starting with self-deprecation, and it's safe, it's easy because we've all got things we can joke about. And it's effective because everybody loves to laugh at us, you know. So that's a great place to start.
To laugh at us as the target is the thing.
Right. When I did a show a couple of nights ago, and I started out, just for an example, Martin, I started out just talking about how I love doing stand-up comedy because it keeps me young. I forget my age when I'm on stage. And I said, you know, just a week ago, I did a show at a college. And before the show, I was flirting with one of the students, you know, and she said, I said to her, you know, you remind me of my old girlfriend. And she said, well, that's awesome. And you remind me of my old boyfriend's grandfather. And it really hurt. But that's a kind of thing that, you know, just that real stuff that we share. It actually makes us more likable and stronger. It's great.
Yeah, it's a muscle to develop, and it can. There's a limit. We aren't. You know, I'm realistic in a sales field that many of our professionals live with some real vicious predators that are looking for any weak point to try to tear them apart. I know that from my years in corporate America. So this is not like revealing every flaw. You know. It's about taking a little piece out and letting people be comfortable with having a joke with it.
Yep. And we can beat them to the punch too. If they're teasing us about something, we can put it back on ourselves, and then it disarms them. It takes away their power to make fun of us because we're already doing it in a better way. So it's really, really effective. I can give you a quick example on that. Just working with a guy, Bob Hoare. He's a B2B salesperson, and people were teasing him about his last name. And so we devised a thing. When he gives his presentation, he'll start by saying, my name is Bob Hoare. You spell that H-O-A-R. And again, it takes away the ridicule, the teasing. He's making fun of himself. People like him. So,
yeah, I remember one time in the corporate world, I had been the first person at IBM to take what's called the A+ certification. It's a technical thing. And I read slower. So, it took me longer than others. And one of the predatory guys came up to me in front of everyone, goes, Martin, you took longer than others to complete this course. What do you think that means? And I looked at him in a puzzled look and I said, I think it means maybe I'm a little dense or simple. What do you? And the room burst out laughing, actually at him at the time.
Yeah.
Getting him to the punch with that's important. And I think that's a beginning safe place for a sales professional to look at it. And I'm big on practicing in safe environments first.
Yeah.
Practice that in front of the customers, practice in front of some other people, and having like humor buddies where you can develop your pitch.
Right.
There's another piece on this that I think is very important you taught me, and that's the idea of half-baked is not going to look completed. That when you work on making notes on humor, and you talked about keeping note cards with you in the class and the other, allow your jokes to be incomplete until you get that punch with them. And I think that to me is an important piece when they start and you develop them, that they're not going to be complete. And then you're going to look for first what gets a chuckle with you, but what really matters is what gets a laugh with others. So would you talk a little bit about that?
That's kind of what separates the real funny people from the mildly funny people is, taking that extra step to push yourself instead of using a general cliche that everybody uses. Try to be a little original, come up with something a little unique, push yourself to make it stand-up comedy funny. And in this sense, that really helps to make the joke. And there's different things we can do. Simple things like the reverse adds a lot of surprise. And these are things that people do all the time without realizing it. But by becoming aware of these tools, people can use them more deliberately and more effectively. So, for example, one of my favorite comedians, Rita Rudner, and she talks about how she broke up with her boyfriend. She says he wanted to get married and I didn't want him to. She's so funny. So that's just a little self-deprecating, very self-deprecating. It's reverse. Right. Because you can see how it creates a surprise in the end. We're thinking she's going to say, I wanted to get married and he didn't want to. I broke up with my boyfriend. Or we thought she was going to say he wanted to get married to somebody. He wanted.
We know where you're going.
Prizes that it's not revealed to the last word that he wanted to get married to somebody else. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happens in the surprise. It's concealed. We just keep it concealed until that very last punch word gives it away. And just learning that one technique is amazing. My son keeps a hamster in his bedroom, and at first the smell was, terrible, but then the hamster got used to it.
All right, well, awesome. I hope you guys enjoy that. If you want to go back and make sure you check out episode 66. If you want to listen to that full episode, I'll put a link in the show notes for you. Next, Elyse, what did you like?
Ooh, I liked it all. The first one I liked, episode 77, 3 skills a sales coach focuses on. Now, you guys know who's going to pick my episode unless I do, right? So I had to pick. God gave us a horn for a reason to toot it. But really, I mean, the biggest reason why I liked this, guys, is this was relatively early on when you guys had invited me into the show, and more than even the content, which I think was very important, and I'll talk about it in a minute. To me, it really showed the character of you guys and the heart of you guys and inviting me on. And just for everyone out there listening, I mean, Greg and Martin have built over the past 5 years an incredible show and following and audience. And for them to bring somebody new in to potentially come in and either help it or like muck it all up. I said muck with an M. He's like, you were taking a gamble on me, but you guys welcomed me with open arms. And on top of that, you said, we really want to do a special show all about you. And I don't know that everyone would have done that. So that really meant a lot to me. And I just really appreciated that. And I think it shows, just like I said, the character and the heart of you guys, who I consider like my brothers. So beyond that, the other reason why I really liked it is I'm such a big believer in accountability, right? I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you have, and probably everyone listening, we've been to one of those incredible like Tony Robbins style conferences where we go and we get all jazzed up and pumped up, and we've got that energy and that excitement for a couple days, but then you look back a week or two down the road and you think, how excited am I still? How much have I changed what I decided I was going to change while I was at that conference? And that's the difference between like a one-day big rally pump up and having someone to give you accountability in your life, is that whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whoever it is for you, I think we all need a degree of accountability to help us follow through on what we say we're going to do. And to me, at the end of the day, that's what coaching is all about. That's what mentorship is all about. And so that's why that episode was meaningful to me. And so with that, let's check it out.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do with your coaching clients. Let's explain a little bit about what you have going there. And then what are some of the things that you find that most of them need help with?
Yeah, we really want to go in today about working with the coach, understanding how to get the most out of them, and because you're in the role, you're sitting there coaching people every day in sales,
right?
So you're really realizing how to get the most out of that, and tips on it.
Sure. Well, so I think there's three primary aspects of your business that you have to master as a sales professional, and they also correspond to the three reasons why people would get into coaching in the first place. So the first is the skill set. So some of you out there have probably been hearing the same objection over and over and over again for years, and you may just not know how to overcome it. Another piece would be prospecting. Social selling is a skill set, right? So getting help with those specific skills that are tied to what actually generates income and revenue for you in sales is key, and it's a component of why probably about 30% of the clients who I coach get into coaching. The second piece is motivation. So for any really tenured sales professionals out there, I think a lot of us get into sales at the beginning because we want more money, right? And we like the idea of time freedom. We like the idea of having those Fridays off to go to events and conferences. But a lot of times with time, we get burnt out, right? So you come in, it's the same old every day. So I work with a lot of clients who have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years, and they may say, I've got all the business I need, I'm just burned out. I need somebody to get me pumped up and fired up again about why I got into sales in the first place. And then the third piece and the third reason why people do get into coaching is self-management. And this is typically the hardest for most sales professionals to manage, because this has to do with your time management, your systems. How do you create habits in your day that help you actually be productive so you don't get to 3 p.m. and say, what in the world have I done today?
Right, because most really operate like an entrepreneur on their own with a real sales quota. So they really need to manage every moment is money for them.
And people forget that. So that's one of the things that I do with my clients is help them figure out what's my hourly rate of pay? Because a lot of times in sales, we don't think about that. And what do I make every time I pick up the phone or every time I email a new prospect? And so it helps to quantify what you're actually doing every day, because otherwise it's very easy to show up at the office and look at your phone and look at your laptop and say, I'm not feeling it today. Yeah. I'm not having it today. So that's part of the motivating factor is to say, you actually make $20 every time you pick up that phone. So it's helpful to people to be able to quantify it.
You were brilliant, Elyse, just brilliant on it. No, I'm just going to add, Elyse, that we really did. It was real important. We pre-screened you quite a bit and checked out, your integrity, your follow through, your positive attitude, ability to roll with the punches. And we wanted someone that would really take the show to the next level. So I just want to acknowledge you. You met the criteria and you knocked it out of the park. So I'm glad we got to hear that again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So episode 77, make sure you go check that out. That was in the show notes. Check it out in the show notes if you want to re-listen to that full episode. We definitely encourage you to do that. So
Greg, you're next.
So my next. All right. So my first of the favorite episodes actually was episode 47, where we talked with Eric Quanstrom and Rachel over at Pipeliner CRM when they were both there. They're not there anymore, but Eric has actually gone on to go work over at Kite Desk. I think he's a CMO over there. But I had a really great conversation with him. I think I'm not sure if you were on this episode at that time, but definitely go back and take a look at the video. This is one of the first times that we had actually done an interview using Hangouts on Air. This is right on the beginning when we started doing this. But the thing that I walked away with out of this episode, which resonated so heavily with me, was the fact that Eric had said that salespeople have to get into the conversation earlier in the process. This whole stat that the corporate executive board has put out, that 57% of the sales process is done by the time the prospect picks up the phone and contacts a salesperson or sends them an email. It basically says that salespeople need to get into that sales process sooner. Now, you've heard us kind of say that through various episodes ever since then. And I still believe in that today, because we still have a long way to go in order to get salespeople onto the right path, so that way they put the buyer at the center of the buying process rather than themselves. So I really enjoyed this episode. I thought this part was brilliant. So let's go ahead and take a look and listen to this particular part of the episode.
We can learn more about our customers than ever before. How do we handle this? Now we have so much data available to scrape and get and information. How do we handle it? And one of the things is I'm realizing, Eric, is marking the data that we might have but not have permission to know yet, and the data that we might have that we do have permission, versus, LinkedIn data is generally, to me, more you've got permission to know that, then they forgot to set their personal settings on Facebook and you don't necessarily have permission to bring it up. So that's just something that popped in my head when you were doing it, as well as a tangent, comment of is that something you should be marking in your database or in your CRM?
Well, I think more importantly, there's no excuse for a salesperson not to do their research. I know personally it's incredibly frustrating when you get on a call, like you've done your research, you're not ready to buy, but you're really excited about this product, and the salesperson gets you on the phone and you have to give them the lowdown of what your company does, what's your use case, when they could have spent 5 minutes on LinkedIn or, check out my Facebook page, and we could have skipped that whole part of the conversation and got, really down to what's important to me.
Yeah. Eric, go up to hear that.
Yeah, and I think that echoing what Rachel's saying, what we're really talking about, and the reason why I opened with that kind of context of what's changed is because salespeople the world over are affected by this change, right? So the sales process itself is radically different. And what is radically different is the way in which you conduct sales. I think that there's a large body of research, and I don't need to, kind of convince anyone that probably regularly listens to this podcast, but that sales is entering the picture at a much later stage on that buyer's journey, right? And I think this is true pretty much the world over. And where they're entering has to be at a higher level than it was in the past, right? And this is foundational when you really get right down to it, because building on all of this data, building on the multiplicative sources that can be consulted, and the understanding that goes into any product or process for selling my product or service, has to take these things into account. What Rachel was just saying is that as a consumer, as a customer, as a buyer, I will not respond favorably. And I think that the patience level is already decreasing. We've seen it. Anyone that's on the front line sees this every single day. They want to be treated as individuals. They want to have people who do their homework. They want to have a meaningful interaction and be given a synthesis of information that helps them make a better decision, right? None of this is rocket science, but this is a radically different way than I think a lot of people, salespeople, conceptualize or used to conceptualize their job function.
All right.
Excellent. It really did showcase that fact of you got to get in the game sooner, and helped anchor in that we were on track and needed to make sure we keep pushing that in other shows as well.
That's right. Now, and I'm sorry that Elyse wasn't there for that one, but she was actually, I don't even think
she was busy making
busy.
sales and quotas and building up her reputation so she'd be ready for us. That's what she was with that.
Spent 30 years getting ready for you guys.
That's right.
How old we are.
I resemble that statement.
You do, I don't. All right, so let's take a look next. Martin, what was your next favorite one that you liked?
My next favorite one was with Brian Lambert, and it was episode 93. And what you see is the thing that I loved is I have had some rich history with him where we were working together on the project of creating sales as a distinct profession for many years in what was called the United Professional Sales Association, and make it like lawyers and doctors. And the experiment was so valuable that I wanted to get him on the stage to reflect back on that. But also the clip I picked was his vision of the future of sales, because that's what he's been focusing on and understanding. And I loved his concept where he challenges people with $100 on stage and says, who can talk about their customer for 10 minutes? And so far, no one's got his $100. The idea of we need to know that customer so deeply that we are walking through their world almost more than ours, to me can't be reminded enough. And so that was it. And I just think he's a real visionary in this area. And I liked his advice of where the future was, including my comment, is AI going to replace salespeople? So that was my list. So I think I'd love for us to listen to it, look for other references and see more, and even follow what he's doing. He's Dr. Lambert is a real expert in his field.
Right. Yeah. So let's take a look and take a listen to this particular episode, and we'll get right back to you.
What do you see as the most important thing that sales professionals need to start focusing on today in this extremely rapidly changing world? When we teach social media management, I say it's like an island with random earthquakes changing its terrain all the time.
Yeah.
You can't control the ocean. You can just learn to surf.
Yeah.
So what would be because you probably see some patterns where they got to start doing X or something.
They've got to start, and it sounds cliche, but when I say this, think about it. They've really got to understand their customer. And the reason why I say that is if you think about this idea of the evolution of customers, and if you just think about your own individual consumerism and how that's rapidly evolved in the last 5 to 7 years. I mean, iPhones weren't even around. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
And just think about how rapidly we are changing our buying behaviors. We buy cars on the internet now. Their largest retailer is Amazon. They don't even have a store. It's like drones are showing up on my daughter bought a riding helmet at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was fuchsia.
Right.
9 o'clock in the morning. She rides horses. 9-year-old riding helmet, fuchsia colored helmet, shows up. She ordered it at 9. It showed up at 12 on my front. And I live in a suburb outside of DC.
Right.
So buying now has really, really evolved. So any seller that says, I'm going to focus on everything else and not my customer is really missing the boat, because every company I go into, whether it's Microsoft, HP, American Express, Macy's, even companies that are regional, there's a company called Sheets, and they're moving from a gas station.
Yeah.
And they have food inside.
We got a lot of them. Yeah.
We got a lot of them here. But they want to be a restaurant. I mean, they're a restaurant with gas pumps outside.
Right. That's it.
So if you think about what that does to buying behavior of the gas station now, it's an experience, much like Starbucks or whatever.
Right.
So there's a lot of evolution on the buying side. And I think to be successful today, you've got to understand your customer. You really have to immerse in that. And you have to use customers as a way to simplify all this stuff. If you can't simplify around your customers, you'll never be successful, because you'll always find something else to simplify around. My 9-to-5 work-life balance, or my way in which I view my solution, or perhaps my product knowledge. If you're organizing around any of those things and not your customer, you're not going to be successful in selling today. And customers have evolved. You know, I like to give a test. You know, who is your target market? Who do you sell to? You know, tell me about their role. What kind of altitude level? Okay, got it. Great. Now, can you talk to me for the next 3 hours about that person without ever mentioning your product?
Yeah.
Can you spend 3 hours? And people look at me like I'm crazy. Okay, well, first off, how long do you think those customers spend talking about their problems without ever mentioning your product?
Right.
80 hours a week.
Right.
You can't even give me 3. Okay, how about 10 minutes? Can you spend 10 minutes talking about your customer without your products? I do this on stage all around the world.
Cool.
I bring $100. Anybody want to walk up here and tell me about your solution, or tell me about?
I need to come to your class. I can do that.
And never mention your solution. Just tell me about your customer.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes, I'll give you $100.
Yeah.
And I always have somebody take me up, and the longest they can make it before the audience buzzes them is about a minute and a half.
Wow.
So you have a minute and a half of customer empathy,
Right.
of customer understanding, customer problem solving against their 80 hours a week of problem solving. And you're going to tell me you're going to be successful in whatever you want to call it: gaining access, closing the sale, you know, being a solution seller, being a challenger, whatever. Absolutely not. I will hands down tell you you're crazy, that you're actually smoking crack.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to happen. And I've invested my time to figure out how I can talk to customers for 2 to 3 hours without ever mentioning what I do, and only focus on their problem. And that blows away most customers, to have that much empathy for what they're really truly facing today. So get back to your customers, stay focused on them, and become an expert. Anything else you do is ridiculous today. That's the only, in my opinion, only way to simplify is to simplify around your customer.
So really building the personas, crawling into the world, seeing through their eyes.
Yeah.
Better than they see.
Better than they
right?
see. Yeah. I mean, what's their calendar?
Their model of reality.
Yeah.
What do they do beyond just your work?
Yeah.
What's a day in the life look like?
Yeah. And I've asked people, I said, hey, can you take a screenshot of your calendar?
Yeah.
And why? Well, because I'd like to go over it with you. Well, what are you talking about?
Right.
Well, I just want to understand who you're meeting with and all that. Yeah. Well, look at your calendar. Is there any public information on there that it says be so-and-so? I'm not going to, you know,
Right.
Okay. So we go over their calendar, and they find it very illuminating to actually process their day with me.
Yeah.
Or to actually, engage in a conversation where I've defined what I consider to be 5 to 7 key problems for their role.
Yeah.
And
helping them with
and to say, hey, are these right? These are trends I'm seeing. What about you, customer? And they want to spend a lot of time telling me I'm wrong, and that's great. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because they're helping me learn. So I think putting yourself out there into that, kind of gorillas in the mist type of view, where you're going to go sit out there in the forest and you're going to see how people eat, how they, communicate, who they're talking to, how they manage their day, how they make decisions and the stress that they're under, quite frankly. I mean, it's high. Most salespeople in complex selling don't really, really, really have an understanding of the amount of stress in today's buying environment.
The customer goes.
The customer's
you're right,
going
because
through.
they got to live with those people.
Yeah.
The team they made the decision.
Yeah,
on.
and also with there's all these business models are changing.
Yeah.
The work is different. Most customers, their job title has absolutely nothing to do with their real job anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The way in which their department is structured is irrelevant today. The way in which they actually make decisions is driven by the initiatives they're working on and the outcomes they're trying to drive. And if you don't understand the outcomes and what they're working on, how are you going to help them be successful? Most sellers can't talk to that. So it's highly stressful. I know customers that are basically in 8 hours of meetings back to back. They can't even go to the bathroom. I know people have gotten kidney infections because they can't go to the bathroom because their work environment is so stressful. And you would know this company too if I told you. Right. And it's because they're trying to work.
I think I do. Don't mention it.
Yeah, they're trying to work in new ways, applying legacy old thinking, which is a whole other podcast, I'm sure. Yeah. But the bottom line is understand who they are, understand their role, be able to be empathetic with them, and really go beyond just putting yourself in your shoes. Literally put yourself in their shoes and become an advocate for them. Don't just try to sell to them. Really, really try to help them be successful.
That's great. What a great tone to, what are you excited about for the future? And then we'll wrap it up.
Oh boy. I now get to play crystal
ball here. Yeah.
Well, the future is what? 3 weeks from now?
Right. Exactly. That's right. That's right.
It's hard to say. This whole thing is moving so fast. I think, to think about selling and where it's going, I'm really looking forward to new ways in which selling can add value. I would never have thought, anything would move past email.
Right. And you're using Slack on your phone.
I'm using Slack is awesome. Right. The idea of sending something of value to a customer and producing some sort of new content for them as a seller was unheard of because of all the marketing lockdowns back then. But now you can do that. And you can start becoming what I call a value creator and a value producer, not just somebody who consumes value from others. And you have to be able to create net new value for others. And that's really what I'm excited about, is to see salespeople take an idea of maybe a new business model or even a new conceptual model of how their solution might work, visually representing that, taking a picture of it, going back to somebody on Fiverr or something and saying, hey, can you make a picture of this for me? Having them whip that out, and the next day saying, hey, customer, I don't know if this is right, but this is how I think about it. And it's somewhat polished, but who cares? It's not fully polished. It's got the brand colors, and we got our logo on there. So
what do you think?
Yeah, but what do you think, Mr. Customer? And that type of collaboration, while the marketing folks might be falling out of their chair right now, this is where customers need the help. Yeah, they need that type of help on. I call it not just getting stuff done. That they don't need that kind of help. The getting stuff done is actually somewhat easy for buyers today, even though it's highly complex and it stresses them out. What they really need help on is figuring stuff out. There's a complete difference from getting stuff done to figuring stuff out, and moving into that world where sellers are truly helping figure out new problems. That's where selling needs to go. And it sounds like, that's what we've been doing for 150 years, but we haven't been doing it this way. Yeah. And this idea of a knowledge economy, the conceptual age that we live in, you're talking about a lot of white space activities, not just, looking at business processes, for example. So you've got to be innovative in new ways. And I think that's exciting for salespeople if they can embrace that and even understand what the heck I just said.
Right. Well, I just want to thank him again because he has been a real mentor to me in many ways, and the ability to work with him and develop these concepts gave a lot of the foundation in becoming a certified and registered sales professional under the group that no longer exists. Was a very important cornerstone for me. So that's why I wanted to include this one.
Now, there's a quick update on Dr. Lambert. He had actually started the Sales Enablement Society up in DC. So if you want, if you want to learn more about that, please definitely go ahead and check that out. We'll put a link in the show notes so that we can learn a little bit more. And also listen to episode 93 with Dr. Lambert and Martin.
Yep.
All right, now wait a minute. So Elyse, you picked. I'm gonna make funny because of this one.
Oh,
you picked your partner in crime over there at the Triangle Sales Think Tank. There must be some sort of motive behind this.
Is there a kickback going on with it?
There's got to be.
No, he's a great guy, and we're proud of his character and his work.
Neil's a great guy. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your next pick.
Hey, Neil Isaacs is a successful salesperson. He can afford to toss me a little bit of money if I pick him, right? Because he's doing social selling the right way. So my next pick was actually the episode right before Dr. Lambert. It was episode 92 about sales prospecting and lead generation with Neil Isaacs. And Neil is a dear friend of mine, somebody who I locally run a sales networking group with, who both Martin and Greg have come and spoken at 2 times now each, and shared their incredible wisdom. And the thing that I love about Neil is, I think, and really this episode, so much of what we talk about here on this show is it's the theory, right? The theory of social selling. How might this work if you were to apply it to your business? The thing I really liked about Neil's episode is he's someone who's in the trenches doing it every single day. And so I think, we all have to be practitioners of what we preach. And it was really fun for me just to have Neil, who he's not a paid public speaker. He's not necessarily recognized as an expert in this industry yet, but he's someone who's out there using social selling every single day to grow his advertising sales business. And I think he gave some great nuggets. And I think we also got a tidbit from him about how social selling is like fish.
They got to listen to it.
And he totally rolled with it. He was so good with that really weird question that we asked him. So anyway, that is why I love it. That's why I love Neil. And with that, we would love to have you guys take a listen.
Yeah, we're going to zero right in on that part. Here we go.
I heard some rumors of something called the monkey theory. And I want to find out, what is this? Is this legal? Is it something we should be talking about on the air?
It sounds very hush-hush.
The monkey theory of social media.
The monkey theory of social media.
And I just want to see, I've apparently in the tabloids, you've been connected to this. So see what it is.
So I have done some public speaking in the market, and I have told this story or this theory that I have a few times, and it's not my own. I can't remember where I heard it.
I understand.
But
and it may have gotten embellished, right?
I'm going to go out on a limb with this one.
Right.
But bear with me. Yeah. So I mentioned I was a biologist when I started all this. So I look at everything from a naturalist point of view. And if you believe in evolution, if you go back thousands of years, there was a Martin and a Neil and Elyse, and we were all monkeys in trees. Right? and we had our different tribes. We had our different tribes, and we had warring factions, and there were difficult times, and we were fighting with each other. And there were other times when things were calm, and we were just kind of hanging out in the branches. And I was picking bugs off your back, and it was just, that's how we socialized back in the day. Social grooming, as they would call it. And if I'm picking bugs off of your back and eating them, and Elyse is watching, she's seeing that we're kind of in a mutualistic environment where we're helping each other out.
Right.
That's how it used to be back in the day.
I got it. I'm with you.
Fast forward to today. Now we're still hanging out in trees, but those trees are Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and liking and poking and tweeting and notifications, and that drip that we get in our brain when we get a notification, we check that. That's the analogous representation of what monkeys did in the rainforest. And so I do that with prospects. I'm not picking bugs off of them.
Right.
But maybe they're not communicating with me. Maybe they're not returning my message on LinkedIn, a direct message. But if they're asking a question in an open forum,
and you have an honest answer,
and I have an honest answer that's beneficial to them, it's changing the whole dynamic of how they think about me. And it taps into that primitive part of our brains, just the way we were when we were monkeys.
That's so good.
Yeah, I love
so
it.
Good.
So here's the question: how is social media like fish? As the former aquarium operator, we're also in the same Toastmasters, and he's great drawing. So I finally took the time to get in one, and it's terrific to be a Neil's. So I thought, what is it? What is it when you throw out a question and you?
It's called tabletop.
Tabletop. So I'm giving you one.
Those are the nerve-wracking
unscripted. Here we go. See how
here we
go.
So fish have something called a lateral line. If you look at a fish, on almost every fish, there's a line that goes all the way down the lateral side of a fish. It's actually connected to their ear, and they essentially hear all the way down their spine. And when you see fish school, they line up, and you see the one in the front pivot just a little bit, and then the one behind it pivots, and you see this beautiful schooling behavior where everything kind of falls in line. that's the behavior they're getting because of the way their lateral line works and because of the way they're reacting to stimuli in the environment that creates a ripple effect in their behavior that transcends throughout the entire school. And social media is exactly the same thing. You have some thought leaders out there that are creating ideas. People are listening. People are reacting. They're spreading those ideas. And it goes throughout the whole school, and it changes very, very quickly. So that's my analogy.
Hats off. That was really good. That was good. Yeah, I think I hear some people clapping in the audience there now. So. Excellent, excellent. Neil is a real pay it forward guy with tremendous integrity, and I'm really glad you picked that one, Elyse. I enjoyed hearing it again, and now we know about the fish. So, and you have to listen to the whole episode to get more about it.
That's right. So if you do want to listen to the whole episode, go ahead and check out episode 92, and we'll have that right there in the show notes so you can listen to it. Listen to it again, and or possibly even watch the YouTube video on it as well. All right, my last pick. This one ended up causing a little bit of controversy for our speaker. We found out, or for our guest, and we found out later that LinkedIn actually contacted her because of her rant. And said, hey, listen, we are working to try to make changes and all that other fun stuff. And internally, the sales team, they're going to be, we're working on trying to do that and things like that. So Jill Rowley in what was it, episode 92, I believe. No, I'm sorry, it's episode 89.
Yeah, episode 89.
Episode 89. Jill Rowley is like the social selling queen, I guess. No, evangelist. She's like, yeah,
she roars. That's what she said.
She roars,
right?
Yes, she lives, breathes, dies by social selling. She's a keynote speaker. She's been out there all over the place. I had a chance to actually meet her in person not long ago, or earlier this year, in San Francisco for Sales for Life had their user conference. I crashed it at the end as I was flying. I was going through San Francisco to fly back to Raleigh. I had a chance to meet her, met Kevin Shaver and a bunch of other folks, but it was really good to meet her in person. And she kind of told me a little bit about that experience, and definitely enjoyed having this. But listen to this part of the episode, because I think if you remember it, then you can kind of imagine what the outcome was from it. But
well, I think it was just courageous, and I want to use the word speak truth to power. I personally believe that I want to see LinkedIn have more competition and have to be more on their edge, and that's because I'm a fan of LinkedIn. Right. So I think it was excellent, and I think brought up some really good points worth listening to. So let's hear it.
Yep. You're out there in San Francisco, Jill, and you have a fairly good relationship with a number of the folks over there at LinkedIn. So do you think that LinkedIn, being the social selling platform of choice for most folks, at least for given the number of members that they have, do you think that the sales organization at LinkedIn is an effective social selling? It has an effective social selling structure in place?
It's a great question. And I have a fair relationship with LinkedIn. Let me start with, I think LinkedIn, and I understand all the reasons why, they're not ecosystem friendly. They are not an ecosystem friendly company. They are not partner friendly. They are not, they're not Salesforce. Salesforce and Mark Benioff and the App Exchange and the community and what he does. Like when you go to Dreamforce, there are 300 plus other vendors who are sponsors. When you go to LinkedIn's event, it's LinkedIn. All LinkedIn, only LinkedIn, and in fact, they don't even let people like you, Greg, and you, Martin, attend their events, because you compete for the dollars that their customers have in their budgets. So I think it's a problem, and I'm willing to go on record. I'm willing to piss them off because I don't like the approach. I don't think it's a very good approach. I think in our world, we should be putting the customer first. And they say that they're putting the member first, but I don't believe it. Let me go to your question. In terms of, do their sales people social sell? I think that they have definitely a lot of salespeople who have really embraced these concepts. But I think from a culture perspective, I still feel like at the end of the day, they have a lot of enterprise salespeople who are looking to sell licenses of LinkedIn Sales Navigator and not necessarily look at it more holistically of social selling transformation and what's required, the cross-functional alignment, the culture of the organization, the training, right? So I was texting with one of their, I should be careful not to, but this very large company who, is one of their largest customers, I asked them, are they getting their training from LinkedIn? And he's like, we tried, we really tried, we really tried, and we couldn't make it work. And so I said, okay, well, that's fair. Is LinkedIn going to build their training program to be social selling training? Are they going to partner with you guys because you're building something to go to market with? And there's just not an ecosystem play. And I see a lot of their reps focused on getting a bunch of licenses for Navigator sold up front without the proper plan in place to really help the company with transformation. I probably just said way more than I should, but that's who I am.
I heard a roar. How about you?
I still hear a roar. It's ringing in my ears. All right.
Elyse, you loved that one too, didn't you?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I think she is the social selling queen. I mean, I'm just going to go there, but I hadn't realized that LinkedIn contacted her afterwards. That's juicy.
Yeah. I got a DM on Twitter from her, not through LinkedIn. So she
we'll
let me know
protect the
that.
innocent
Yes.
of the details, but
Yeah.
yes, that's what we want. We want to make sure our job is to keep them honest and moving forward and serving the public, and we know how hard the job is.
Yep. Very true. So that comes to a conclusion of our favorite episodes. We do want to say thank you to all of our guests. Even Kevin Thomas Tully, who's been on the show 3 times. We've had John Ferrara of Nimble, who's been on the show a couple times as well, and he will be on again. Same with Kevin. Lindsay Boggs for definitely coming on the show, letting us record at her house.
Yeah, in her dining room.
Right, in her dining room when we did that recording. And everyone else who's been a guest. Mick Lernot, who when we interviewed him, he was with Sales Prodigy. Yeah. Right now, Sales Prodigy was acquired by Hootsuite. And now he's part of that team.
And Crystal, we got.
Yep, Drew DeAugustino, I think. Right?
Oh, we got it right. Greg, I want to just reflect back. Remember the first show, just for a moment.
Yeah. Okay. So that was.
That's it. No, really, it was the first show. What was our title?
It was the generosity of authenticity.
The generosity of authenticity. Only we could have come up with the title of that. But I smell my name in there too.
Yes, that was definitely all you.
But it really got us going, and it's still out there. There's some good points on it. Maybe you'll put them in the show notes. Yeah. But 5 years of working with it, in ups and downs. Him having more kids, and
yes, podcasting produces more kids.
Yeah, that's right. And then
watch out, Elyse.
Then the evolution of realizing we really wanted to diversify and add a new team maker, and then the great addition to Elyse has been on well over a year now, and and a terrific contribution to it. So it's very exciting that it's evolved and keeps serving. And we still want your feedback. We're making changes based on what people say, and keep sharing the information. And of course, make sure to sign up for socialselling.training as well. So I think this is a great launch where we got our party hats virtually on. And Elyse, thanks so much for celebrating 5 years of this program, the podcast, and all the thousands and thousands of listeners over the years.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. It's tremendous. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I so appreciate it. I appreciate you guys, and also just, all the listeners. I think we have amazing listeners who are engaged, and it's such a blessing to get to know them better as well. So thank you to everyone out there listening and who's been with you guys from the beginning as well. That's huge. So we so appreciate that.
And all those folks we picked up along the way.
That's right. That's right. And connected to. So
that's right.
Again, this is Martin Brossman.
I'm Greg Hyer.
And
I'm Elyse Archer.
And you have been listening to the Social Selling Podcast by Linking into Sales. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Check out the showcase pages we have built for you out there. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, because we're all over social media. And then when you come out to linkingintosales.com, sign up for our newsletter. Everywhere. We just want to be your friend.
That's it. That's it. Great. Thanks so much.